The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences only, so don't tell your parents! Listener discretion is advised.
And there he is, the little baby, little bad boy, eating electronics, not giving a fuck.
That's how he always is. See that? He just wants to bite everything.
You just straight bit your face.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, a proud member of the Geekly Grind Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Our compatriot JD isn't going to be joining us for this episode. It was a bit too busy, but
JD fell in battle.
He fell in battle, and we're here to uphold the honor of the Ink and Paint Club podcast. My name is Matt. And with me is my friend and co-host, Kyle.
Yo. And
this week we are going to be talking about, maybe, not exactly recent, but we're talking about the new Tom and Jerry movie. I think it came out near the beginning of the month, or was it like late last month? I know that it goes away on HBO Max like at the end of the week or like the middle of next week or something, but yeah, so it's one of those movies that they're doing that Warner Brothers, they have their big thing for this year was that any movies that were supposed to be, or I guess are being released theatrically, they're doing timed releases on HBO Max as well. So, and I think it's just like a month's time. It's like 30 days or something along those lines. So the first major release was was the new Wonder Woman, I think. And then I think there was Judas and the Black Messiah. Tom and Jerry is like the first animated movie that's getting released in this fashion. So I believe it is playing theatrically in some places right now because I know theaters are opening back up. I know they just
I didn't even know that. Like, there's a few of them open around me. I didn't even know places were open.
Yeah, I think Los Angeles County, like a week ago, I think, and then actually my county was like only a few days later announced it. So, hoping to get back to the theaters soon. I'm one shot in on the vaccination. I'm getting my second one next week. So, a couple weeks after that, I'll be fully vaccinated and I'll feel comfortable going to the movies again. Of course, you still got to wear your mask, and they have all the necessary precautions. Actually, yeah, that's right. JD was mentioning this because he went to go see Raya, I think, in the theater. So he already mentioned all the precautions stuff you go through to do the movies nowadays. So I ain't got to go into it here. But while we are here is to talk about Tom and Jerry. It was funny. I wish I would have given this more thought. It would have been a very funny joke to have this episode on the first week of April. And but that would have been, pushing it back even further from its release date. So it would have been ill-advised, but it would have been funny to say like, hey, we're going to cover, Tom and Jerry. And then for the episode, we end up covering the first Tom and Jerry movie, the one from 1992, the one where like they actually talk and shit.
I think you brought that up a while back.
Did I?
Yeah.
I think it was an idea, and I think we totally forgot about it, or we got some other stuff scheduled in that time slot that was unnegotiably has to be there, and I'm very excited for it. So we had to give up the April Fool's joke this year, but I think we got something planned for next year that should work just as well. But yeah, so talking about the actual movie, Tom and Jerry, 2021. This one is, this one was originally announced in 2009 as a live-action CG hybrid.
Wait, was this announced around the time Marvin the Martian and Hong Kong Phooey and all those really shitty test movies came out?
Probably. I didn't see any mention of that when I was like looking through the Wikipedia article, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I think they probably just announced a bunch of projects around the time and then kind of just weeded out the ones that they probably thought weren't going to get as much attention. This one specifically, it was said that they announced the live action CG Tom and Jerry because the first Alvin and the Chipmunks movie did so well. So I guess this movie was greenlit on the thought that it could be just as successful. but yeah, so it was announced in 2009, and then obviously it's only been released now in 2021. I guess it was originally supposed to be in 2020, but everything got pushed back. So, in 2015, they were shifting the development of this to be completely animated, and then in 2018, they reverted back to the decision to do a live action, hybrid. And I guess they filmed everything just before all the COVID shutdowns last year. So I guess all the actual animation work and everything was done while everyone was working from home and stuff. So the director is Tim Story, who I was looking through his filmography, and it's very fascinating to see that he did this movie, just because when you look at the his back catalog of work, he doesn't really have a background in animation or anything. So I'm assuming he was mostly advising the live action bits and all that stuff. I couldn't really tell if there's a specific director of animation or anything. I'm sure there was. That was just stuff that going off the wiki article and stuff. But Tim Story is probably most popular films in his back catalog. He did the first Barbershop movie. He did both Fantastic Four movies. The mid 2000s ones, not the most recent one. The just Fantastic Four, and then Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, and then he also did 2019's Shaft, which is like the third Shaft movie, I think, or I don't think it's the third one. Anyway, I think the Shaft connection was what got him to do Tom and Jerry, actually, because I think he did Shaft for Warner Brothers. I believe it was Warner Brothers. And then they asked him if there's any other properties that he wanted to attempt to, do. And then I think he saw Tom and Jerry on the list, and I guess he was like a big Tom and Jerry fan, so I guess he kind of just leapt at the opportunity to do it.
all these projects usually come off as I got kids, my kids will love this, and then they just do it.
Yeah,
just do it for their kids.
Yeah. I mean,
well, it's like all I can think of. Ken Jeong or whatever. He's in this movie for like 3 lines.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
all
as
he
a chef.
has.
Yeah,
he's probably in it because he's got kids.
He's got kids to feed. Yeah, no, there's a very popular quote from Dennis Hopper when he was interviewed after the Super Mario Brothers movie came out and it bombed. And it was a very fun story he always told, where his kids asked why he was in such a terrible movie. And he was like, it was because we needed to buy you shoes. And the kid responds, I didn't need shoes that badly.
There you go.
I believe it was either Dennis Hopper or it was Bob Hoskins. It was one of the two. But yeah, it was directly related to the Mario movie, which is, of course, something that I'll always find a way to try to bring up in a conversation, being one of my favorite movies. So, but yeah, Tom and Jerry. Were you a Tom and Jerry fan growing up as a kid?
No, I mean, I watched them and I enjoyed. It's weird, man. Like, I enjoyed the Chuck Jones one, and I think a lot of people just do not like the Chuck Jones ones for some reason.
They're drastically different from like the original ones for sure. I feel like, yeah, they're definitely paced differently and everything, and like the animations. Yeah, Chuck Jones is a very particular style that I guess it was just a very drastic jump from the original Tom and Jerry. So I can see why people wouldn't enjoy them as much.
I love them. I just don't like the guy that just recently passed away. I forget the ones that are really flat and really ugly looking. I didn't like those shorts.
Right. I remember you bringing this up actually, like some episodes back. I can't remember what context, but yeah, I'd never seen the versions of the Tom and Jerry shorts that you were referring to. Oh no, you know what it was? I think when we were talking to Aaron, Long, I think you brought it up there, and you had a little discussion there. Yeah, I'd never seen any of those before, and I saw like clips from them. Or it's not true. I did see them as a kid, but I totally forgot about them. And then looking at clips from them now, they in comparison to either the the originals or the Chuck Jones ones, they are not good.
They're from a guy named Gene Dench or something.
Oh yeah, okay. Gene Ditch or Deitch, something like that.
Ufa. Yeah.
um, but yeah,
No, I always just thought Jerry was an asshole and kind of always on Tom's side, and then one of those cartoons where you always feel bad because he always gets, it's almost like torture porn in a sense, where he just constantly gets fucked up, and then Jerry's smug ass at the end. It's annoying to watch. So I never really liked Tom and Jerry as a kid.
you didn't like it just on the basis of violence equals funny.
Well, I mean, violence is fun, but it was just like always one sided. Like you just want Tom to win sometimes.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those things. They when we were kids, they were always playing this and old Looney Tunes and stuff, on television. So, you become very familiar with both of those. At least on the Cartoon Network, that was where they replayed them a lot. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, well enough. There's like a few shorts that I can like remember off the top of my head, like as because other than that, like I would say for the most part, a lot of them like sort of run together. Like
You've seen one, you've seen them all.
for the most part, yeah. I mean, like just off the top of my head, I can think of like there's the one Tom and Jerry short where like it's Jerry's like a granddad or something. He's like a cowboy and he has a guitar and like he keeps on snapping the strings and he keeps on stealing Tom's whiskers to restring it. There's the one with Tom in the zoot suit, I think playing the piano, like the "Is you is or is you ain't my baby." Yeah, there's that one. Yeah, just like little ones here and there that I can like very much recall, but then like I would say the vast majority of them I couldn't really tell you off the top of my head. I could name a lot more like Looney Tunes shorts are a lot more iconic in that regard. I brought up the 1992 movie earlier. I've actually never seen that myself. I just know that Tom and Jerry both speak in it, and everyone hates it for that reason. Have you seen that?
No, I've never seen that movie, but it's one of those things where here you have, it's almost like a kid's book where you have this property and it has a very specific like formula to it.
Yeah.
And then you have to like completely go off the rails and do your own thing with it because they don't fucking talk in this. So
yeah.
Going with that movie, all right, we're gonna make them talk. It's kind of like how The Grinch is only like a 15-page book, but you got to make a whole fucking movie out of it. So you give them a sad backstory and
I mean, listen,
all this shit.
That worked one time with the live action Grinch, so I can see why they thought it would have worked a second time for Illumination. Because I'll stand by that live action Grinch being amazing. That's one of my favorite holiday movies.
Yeah, it's a good one, but no, it's just I can see why people don't like it. It's fucking weird, man.
Yeah, and it's more of the fact that like Tom and Jerry, well, at least Tom, like he does talk and he does sing, but they're usually played up for jokes. It's not like he is like talking like ad nauseum like on Looney Tunes. He's not like a Bugs Bunny. He doesn't like tell jokes or anything. It's just more like it's reactionary stuff, I guess.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's more him being an body actor.
Yeah, exactly. And that's at least one aspect of this movie that improves on their other theatrical outing in '92 is that Tom and Jerry do not speak in this. They do have little bits here and there, but it's all like archival recordings. It's all like June Foray and Mel Blanc, like the screams and the sound effects, basically like all the typical ones that you would if you're trying to think of like how Tom or Jerry sounded. It's like it's all those like
And see, I like that. That's a fun little nod to that. You don't have to have them talking shit and just do that. People know the voices and stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as having like the sound effects and stuff, I'm fine with that. But kind of like with this Space Jam, Back in Action, all these movies that they've basically tried to revive something. Because for one, this definitely isn't for us.
Yeah.
This is
No,
definitely for kids.
this is a family movie. This is like for
Yeah.
families and for kids and stuff. Like, and I would say in that regard, like it's at least pretty decent at doing that. Like, I feel like there's maybe a little bit too much of the live action stuff.
Yeah,
For its
definitely.
own good, but I would say for the most part, it's still for a family movie, like for something to put on as a new movie. The kids can't get to the theaters, like cartoons to see them mixed in with live action. They might not have ever seen like Who Framed Roger Rabbit or Space Jam or any of that stuff. So it's a very novel thing to see cartoon characters interacting with real life people and stuff. So
Yeah, but see, like that's the thing. We grew up. We had Cartoon Network. We had like Toonheads, Tex Avery Show, Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, MGM stuff. We all grew up with that,
yeah,
and whoever's listening probably grew up with that stuff too. But now kids don't really have that, so kids probably don't know who Tom and Jerry is and stuff. It's the same with
yeah.
say like Flintstones. The only reason people know Flintstones, and that's like 2, 3 generations of kids already. They don't know Flintstones other than a cereal box mascot.
Yeah, yeah, because it's not like, well, at least for as far as Flintstones is concerned, they definitely don't have a presence aside from like Fruity Pebbles and stuff. But I think as far as animated stuff, the only recent thing I can think of is that WWE crossover they did.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah,
So
because
Tom and Jerry's been in the ether for a long time.
I wouldn't necessarily say that in regards to Tom and Jerry, only because Tom and Jerry has a very lucrative hold on the direct to DVD market. Um,
Mm,
Well, not to the degree of like Scooby Doo, but they
It's not
have their
it's not as
selections.
accessible though. Like someone's got to buy that for them. It's not like just played on TV. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I know they do play that sort of stuff on TV, but like I said, it's mostly if you were to look on a TV guide and see Tom and Jerry in any capacity, it is most likely reruns of like the original, the old shorts and stuff. Yeah, as far as the direct to DVD stuff, I haven't had fucking cable in years, so I don't know how often like Cartoon Network still plays like the full ass movies. Like I as far as the Tom and Jerry stuff, I know they did like that Willy Wonka one like some years ago.
Yeah,
And then like I know they've done like Three Musketeers and like other shit, like Wizard of Oz maybe is that one, I think.
I think Wizard of Oz. Yeah,
I think everyone was joking recently because
the
the
Great
uh, the
Gatsby one.
the Great Gatsby recently lapsed in the public domain, so I think everyone was just like posting pictures of like there's that gif of Mike Stuckalasa and Rich Evans like rubbing their hands together, and it's like the XX at Warner Brothers about to make their Tom and Jerry Great Gatsby crossover.
Yeah, um, which is interesting though, because I had seen a post or something about that, and there's already like kind of like a Wizard of Oz where people are writing their own story and doing like their own Wicked way. They're doing that with Great Gatsby right now. There's like a shitload of versions that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
went out of public. It went into that.
Yeah, the public domain. I'd mostly all the ones I've been seeing were just like derivations on just making something called the gay Gatsby and just making all the characters gay for each other.
Nice. No, I've seen one with vampires and zombies and all this kind of dumb shit. So,
Oh, kind of like Pride and Prejudice with zombies and shit. That type of thing.
yep. So, as you may know, of us going off into tangents, this movie's kind of just not really that great, and there's not much to talk about. So,
Yes. So this can be summed up very quickly as far as the plot goes. There's uh it's it's Jerry is trying to find a place to live. He takes up residence in a hotel. Um, Tom is like a busker. Like he has a keyboard and stuff. He gets broken. He hunts Jerry down to the hotel. Jerry causes mischief. Tom causes mischief. The hotel hires Tom to take Jerry out of the hotel, and yeah, it's your typical Tom and Jerry shenanigans, sort of supplemented by a live action plot that's about
Somewhat very, very relatable to kids that a girl has to find a job, and then
yeah.
also that there's a royal wedding, and that's also very relatable to kids. Kids love weddings; they
I have a
can't get enough of them.
I have a feeling a lot of that live action stuff's mostly there for the parents. So like I get it because
Yeah,
that's it's, like I said, a family movie, not necessarily a kids movie, a family movie because you got your funny cartoon antics with the cat and the mouse beating the shit out of each other, and then you've got you got Kim Jong and Chloe Grace Moretz and oh shit, what's his name? He plays Luis in the Ant-Man movies. Oscar,
yeah, I don't fucking know.
Oscar. Shit. Anyway, yeah, and that's just like so funny aside. They got like some, and that's not even particularly adult jokes. It's just fucking it is what it is. It's a framework to just like get Tom and Jerry from location to location to stir shit up.
Lot of
Um,
lot of poo poo pee pee jokes that are in a lot of kids movies these days.
yeah, well, if it works, go for it. I guess.
Then I guess we got to bring up that literally every animal in this movie is animated. People walking
Yes,
dogs.
yeah, that was like it was strange to me at first, and then because I don't know, it's like it's one of those things because Roger Rabbit sort of set the framework, and you're just thinking like every time you see like you know cartoons alongside humans, you just think like, oh, that's like that's a cartoon character. It's not necessarily that they're all animals; they're just cartoon characters. And in this movie, all the cartoon characters are also animals, but they're not like all. They're not like people. They are just animals. Like they're pets. They're wild animals, but there's no like actual animals in the movie. They're all animated. Like the pigeons in this movie are animated. The dogs in this movie, the horses, elephants, peacocks, like just all sorts of stuff.
I have a theory on why they did this, and I guess it makes sense.
What is it?
But at the wedding, they have like tigers, elephants, all this kind of shit, and I feel like if you would have had a CG tiger or something right next to all the other animals, Tom and Jerry, the dog, all this stuff, it would have made such a weird
Juxtaposition.
yeah, it just would have looked so fucking weird. So I think that would have made the decision, all right, well we can't have, one without the other because having a CG elephant next to a bunch of CG animals or cartoon animals, it would look really awful. So I think
Yeah.
stylistically they were just like, yeah, we got to go with this.
Well, and also I think just like because the only other alternative would have been to have actual animals in the movie, and I think it would have definitely been. It's a lot easier to deal with cartoons than it is to deal with real animals as far as animal actors and shit. But yeah,
Yeah,
also just yeah,
you
yeah.
just
No, I
need a
think
uniform idea,
yeah,
and that's what they chose.
yeah. But it was especially weird, like once you start getting into imagery, where like there's a bit there where Tom and Jerry are sort of just there's a scene like probably a third of the way into the movie where they're just sort of going around New York and taking in the Big Apple, and they go to like a fish market, and like there's just all these dead cartoon fish lying around.
Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking like the idea of like yeah, I'm just like thinking like what this means is like, an animal dies and then like they gotta bury this like cartoon in the ground, like, like their pet dog, like but then like I'm also thinking like, like if they died as like a little like cartoon ghost like float out of them or like, like I don't know, just like
Yeah.
that type of shit. Like it's just the type of thing like of course they're not gonna, pay too much attention to unless it's for a joke. But it's like one of those
Yeah.
things that you can't help but sort of like overanalyze because it's like the implications of this sort of thing are way too great. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty
It's
funny.
the same thing with Pokemon. You gotta fucking realize that maybe the meat they eat are related to that.
Yeah, and then they've never like even completely confirmed or denied anything on that front either. Like I think in early episodes of the anime, they show that there's actual like animals alongside Pokemon, but then like anything
Yeah.
past that, it's like no, it's just you only ever see Pokemon. So it's likely that and there's no way that the Pokemon universe is just full of vegans or vegetarians or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeremy Snow here, owner and editor-in-chief of The Geekly Grind. I'm interrupting your awesome, regularly scheduled programming to ensure that you know about our Geekly Grind podcast network, of which this show is a treasured member of. If you haven't had a chance to check out our site, you can do so at www.thegeeklygrind.com, and while you're there, check out the other members of our steadily growing podcast family, including the anime-centric Blake and Spencer Get Jumped, discovering new heroes and comic book keepers with Chris and Lance, exploring the vast universe of geekdom with Geeksploration, or of course appreciating animation's finer details with the Ink and Paint Club. Escape your weekly grind at the Geekly Grind.
Something I thought was kind of interesting. They put like Droopy in there a couple times, and I know he's a big MGM character. So it's nice to see him around. He was in the Pound, and then he was like a Joker parody on a movie poster.
Yeah, he was a Hannibal parody when he was in the Pound.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
It was a little interesting to me though. Yeah, because you brought him up, I was thinking like it would have been fun to see more cameos from other like animal characters from that era. But it's just Droopy.
Yeah, so like there's a part where Jerry gets picked up by a seagull and then he's like dropped in the park or some shit. And he hits a squirrel, and I was like, oh, that would have been a perfect time.
Squirrel.
Screwball squirrel would have been awesome, but nope. Missed opportunity.
Or you could have had like a Woody Woodpecker, like, somewhere in there. Like, and I'm assuming there's rights issues for like a lot of this stuff. Like, I'm not sure where MGM stands nowadays. Maybe did Warner Brothers acquire them? Maybe that's how they're able to use it. But
I think they've been acquired by them. I would say if they're using Droopy for sure.
At the very least, I could see them only doing Droopy because that's just one other license holder that they would have to kind of collaborate with instead of like trying to get all these other characters in this one movie.
Maybe. Like the only other character I can think of is like the wolf.
Right, yeah. And I can see why they wouldn't want to do that because it's like, if they're trying to stick with just like animals and not like humanoid animals, like I can kind of get the reasoning behind that. Because even like with Droopy, like that's it's a little strange because Tom and Jerry are typically depicted as being like a cat and a mouse, like, but Droopy like is usually like talking and interacting with like others in his shorts, right? It's been a while since I've seen like really any Droopy stuff.
Droopy's
not just like a dog, right? He's not just like doing dog things in his shorts, right?
No, they make him like a sheriff. They make him like different types of characters, and then it's usually him versus the wolf, and then he does a bunch of cartoon antics and
right
takes the wolf out.
The only Droopy short I can really think of off the top of my head was the one that they did for like, I think it was like a Cartoon Network bump or an Adult Swim bump or something like in the 90s. I think I couldn't tell. Like I think it's like I think Droopy's like a barista or something, and like he's trying to get like a tip and like a can. He keeps on shaking the can. I think that was Droopy, right?
That was those bumpers or whatever. Those little shorts.
Yeah, but that was actually Droopy, right? That wasn't like a Droopy parody.
No, that was him.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that, but that's like the only one I could think of because that's. I don't know that Droopy was really one of those ones that got replayed a lot, like alongside. Like I'm sure it was, but like as far as like what endured like on reruns and stuff, it was mostly Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry. Like I know they played like specialized collections and stuff, like Toon Heads and that sort of thing. But those kind of died off after a while, and then you're just sort of left with the sort of broad strokes.
Yeah, I found it. It's called Thanks a Latte.
That's what it is. Okay. But yeah, there was you mentioned that there's the Droopy cameos. There's honestly, there wasn't that many other references in this movie than I thought there would be. I thought that this one would have been like chock full of them, but there was one other one where Tom has on like these like cardboard wings and he's sort of like gliding like through the night sky, and like he goes up and like kind of eclipses the moon like I can't remember if it's the
Batman?
first. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was the first Burton Batman or if it was Batman Returns, but yeah, he sort of eclipses the moon and he does like, he's like stays there for like a second and then drops back down.
Yeah.
And like I get that. That's Warner Brothers, so that's all. And even then it's parody, but still they specifically did that because it's like, oh, yeah. I because I was funny. I was in the middle of saying that, and I was just thinking like, oh, that's right. We still have Space Jam 2 still coming out later this year, and I know that's the movie where they're going to be fucking throwing all that shit at the wall.
God, I'm not looking forward to that. I feel like it's going to be an absolute shit show from everything that I've read. It's like, oh, bad guys stealing Instagram followers. Oh no.
Yeah, but like, but the idea of them, because they, I don't know for what reason why they want to do it, but like they're just trying to flex like we own this property and that property, so it's just full of like properties that Warner Brothers owns, so it's just gonna be chock full of references to that. And it's like I am definitely interested in that aspect because I want to see exactly what the hell they do for all that stuff, because it's crossovers are always fun, but some crossovers are better at letting it happen more naturally than others.
Well, it's like what I brought up before. You have stuff like this that probably a lot of kids haven't seen, and I noticed a lot of jokes are just like retelling or redoing jokes, treading the same water, and that's what I'm afraid of. In this one, they're going to do a lot of redoing jokes and stuff like this, and it's just boring to me. I've already seen it. I've already seen where Jerry's looking in his hand, and then Tom's like, "Oh, what's going on in your hand?" And then he socks him in the eye. Seen that a million times. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you've got like a big Hollywood picture like this, and it's like, you kind of want it to just be like a greatest hits of like, stuff. It's like, people got to point out like, oh, hey, I remember that from that short, and that's kind of what's going to get like the laughs and the cheers and that sort of thing. I get it, and it's definitely not for everyone. Self-referential, stuff can kind of get a bit too heavy. If it's used here and there, it's fine. But if it's all that you're relying on, then yeah, it's just, kind of just makes you want to just go back and, stop watching the movie and just go back and watch the original shorts that came from.
That's exactly how I would review this movie. just watch the old shit.
Well, the good thing about that is I think all the shorts are on HBO Max, I believe. I think I saw them on there. When we were talking earlier about there not being that, like that much, stuff in the way of like Tom and Jerry content in recent years, aside from like a handful of DVD movies, they did actually make 2 new shorts that came out around when this movie was released. On HBO Max, they're just referred to as Tom and Jerry special shorts, I believe.
Yeah, there's only the new ones. I know a few animators worked on it.
Yeah, there's only like 2 of them, and they're like 4 minutes each or something along that. I think they're done by like the same teams that did the new Looney Tunes cartoons, right?
Yeah, it's what is it, Peter Braungart, or is that his name? The Uncle Grandpa guy? Right.
Yeah, so it's just 2 of them, but I mean, if you got HBO Max, I think they're very fun. They're worth watching. It's like there's one where Tom's just putting together like one of these giant like cat houses, and then there's another one that's like all Japan themed, which I thought that was that was my favorite one of those 2. It was very fun. And made me think I actually still need to watch the new batch of Looney Tunes cartoons too. You said you watched those recently, right? Did you say that they were any good, or
they're all right? I don't know. I'm not gonna complain about the quality of animation, but I don't really think they're written all that great.
Sure.
I know a lot of people praise certain ones, like the gum one and the wet cement one, and certain things like this. And I think it's really good to have a simple premise like that. But a lot of times they just like the writing just goes way like too much into it. I think you got to
Sure.
keep it simple with Looney Tunes stuff.
Right. You did bring up the actual quality of the animation and stuff, and that's actually something that we've neglected to mention as far as the movie is concerned. I actually really enjoyed the style of like, the animated characters like on the live action backdrop. I think it looks like really good.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not too bad.
Stylized very well. Like, I think you were saying that like this was most likely just a test to see, what the hell they were going to do with Space Jam 2, which makes sense to me.
That's what I feel like. This movie was made as a test for Space Jam too.
And I mean, as far as the test goes, it looks very good. Like, I'm just kind of thinking back to like Back in Action or something. Like,
Yeah.
that one's still very much in the sort of ballpark of like, a Roger Rabbit, where it's very clearly cartoons on a live action backdrop. But I mean, this one, it's CG animation, but you could be fooled into thinking that it was traditional animated. Well, not traditional, maybe like digital animation or something. The CG models are just stylized very well, so it's got that nice cell shaded look, and they look like the original cartoons come to life. It's like one of those things where if this movie would have been made back when it was announced, like around that time period when that Alvin and Chipmunks movie came out, we would have gotten this movie where like Tom and Jerry were like these weird looking like actual cat and mouse like textured fur and like that sort of thing.
Yikes, that would have been bad.
It would have been fucking strange for sure. Yeah, and it's just kind of interesting to see like just in like a decade's time how we've gotten to a sort of point where we don't really need to do that anymore. Like we can just straight up just make them look exactly like they were and not have to go through the painstaking process of hand drawing them or like traditionally or digitally animating them in the way that they were in the past as far as the live action hybrid movies type go.
It depends, man, because Smurfs, I don't know how recent the recent Smurfs one was, but they made them like fucking Pixar looking characters with giant eyeballs and shit. I
Yeah.
guess certain characters translate well into CG and other ones don't really.
Well, so as far as those Smurfs ones go, like, yeah, the actual live action ones they did, the style on them, yeah, they look really strange. But there was that, whatever the most recent Smurfs one they did, like Lost Village or whatever,
Oh yeah, but
stylization.
that was straight up animation though.
Yeah, it was, but you could have put those Smurfs like you could have used those versions like in those live action movies, and I don't think it would have looked off at all. Like, I think it would have paired very well. Because I mean, inherently the Smurfs are just such weird characters anyway that like having them just look like straight cartoon characters is not gonna. I don't think it was gonna be worse than what actually ended up in those movies. Like they look strange because they try to make them look real in an aspect, and it's like they're not real. Like,
Yeah.
so just let them be animated. Like that's what people mostly know them for. And it's not to say every adaptation in that specific way is awful. I mean, Detective Pikachu. I feel like going for like the actually that one kind of is like half and half because there's some Pokemon that look really great, and then there's some Pokemon that do not look great in that specific style in live action. Like,
Yeah.
and then of course you
know.
got like Sonic, and the original version of that was going to look horrible, and then they miraculously turned it around, and it looked very natural because they made it look more like the actual design of Sonic.
Yeah. Could have your Yogi Bears or Yogi Bear to Rocky and Bullwinkle. I think Rocky and Bullwinkle looked pretty much how they should have, but Yogi Bear was like a straight up fucking bear with Pixar eyes.
Yeah. So Rocking Bullwinkle is actually a better example of what I was trying to talk about earlier, as far as like um, keeping them cartoony, but doing them in CG and not traditional or digital animation. Of course, because that movie came out in 1999. So the technology to do that sort of thing was not necessarily all there. It does look very strange, but like if they try to attempt to do that movie again nowadays with like the way that they did like Tom and Jerry and like the other animal characters in here, it would look much more natural. Well, not natural. It would look a lot more aesthetically pleasing.
Came out in 2000. Good God.
Oh, 2000. Okay. We nearly covered that last year, and I think JD was very against it, so we didn't.
It's just like, holy fuck, dude. In 2000, I know they did George of the Jungle. I know they did Dudley Do Right. But these things, nobody gives a mad fuck about these characters, let alone know who they are.
Yeah.
So it's super wild that they decided in 2000 that they were going to make a Rocky and Bullwinkle movie. It's weird that people try to keep these properties alive. I understand that they probably paid a lot of money for them, but holy shit. It's the same with like Peabody and Sherman. Nobody gave a fuck about those characters when they, you know what I mean? Like, so much time has passed. Like, almost 50 years have passed. Nobody knows who they are, and then to revive it, it's just insane. That's how I kind of feel, which is a good point to bring up, is that's what I kind of feel like Tom and Jerry and almost the Looney Tunes are. They've been out of pop culture for so fucking long that they don't want them to die, which is understandable, but doing stuff like this every 20 years isn't helping them stay relevant.
Yeah. I don't know that I necessarily agree on the Looney Tunes front. I feel like Looney Tunes are at a point where they've sort of transcended, and like they're very recognizable characters. Like even though
you put them on a level of Mickey Mouse to Looney Tunes, it's like no contest.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's that's There's no way you can compare anything to the fucking mouse. Like
yeah, you can. Mario. Kids know who Mario is, and
yeah, but that's a whole nother entertainment market. That's not cartoons and movies and stuff. That's like video games. So like that's not.
I mean, as far as like characters and recognizability and stuff like that, like Looney Tunes have been kind of off the map for a long time.
Yeah,
like Space Jam Back in Action, because Space Jam was like the huge one, and Back in Action, nobody gives a fuck about.
Yeah, because I guess aside from after Back in Action, there was like the Looney Tunes show, which came out like a decade ago now, like the sitcom one, and then there was Wabbit, and then I think Baby Looney Tunes, and I think there's just those three. I'm sure there's probably some other ones, and then there's like the recent shorts they've been putting on HBO Max. But
they've been really struggling with relevancy. Like even Lunatics, like probably not the best.
Oh right, yeah,
not the best thing, man.
Just talking about fucking Lunatics Unleashed on here.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, like, it feels like Warner Brothers is really struggling with keeping the Looney Tunes like relevant, and I feel that Space Jam 2 is like their biggest fucking gamble. Like, if Space Jam 2 fails, we probably won't see them in like another 20 years. Honestly, because you think about it, like Disney has Disney stores, Disneyland, all this kind of stuff, and Warner Brothers doesn't really have that.
I know that they used to be really tied in with like was it Magic Mountain, but I don't know that that's really a thing nowadays, right? Like as far as the brand, the synchronicity on those two.
I want to say that Magic Mountain is focusing more on DC characters than Looney Tunes characters.
Yeah, that makes sense. In fact, yeah, I can attest to that because I went to Six Flags over here like last November, I think, or no, it wasn't November. It was like a few weeks either before or after Yumi and Dustin went to Disneyland. But there was DC shit all over the place, and I actually can't recall if I saw any Looney Tunes shit. Like I'm sure there must have been like a few things here and there, like in the gift shops and stuff. But I don't know that they really had like any branded coasters or anything, or cafes or like even like themed bathrooms or any of that sort of thing.
Maybe they're like Kids Land or something.
Maybe, and that would make sense because, of course, I wouldn't have been tooling around there, except just to see what the fuck they're doing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that the Looney Tunes will ever go away. If Space Jam 2 doesn't do well, I could definitely see them putting projects on the back burner for like a little bit, but not that. I mean, like. Yeah, I don't think Looney Tunes is one of those things that goes away. Tom and Jerry, on the other hand, I feel like this movie probably, nobody's can go to the theater. I don't know that anyone's getting HBO Max specifically to watch Tom and Jerry. I feel like this will probably be the last that we see of them for a while. Like, I don't think 20 years, but I mean, there'll probably be a good chunk of time before we see any other Tom and Jerry type stuff, except for whenever they end up doing that fucking Great Gatsby straight to DVD movie.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that they're gonna just fade into obscurity. I just think that lately they've just been really struggling for relevancy.
Sure. Right. Well, I think we really talked about every part of the movie we really needed to talk about.
We covered every base and more.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a parent and you've got kids, I would definitely and you have HBO Max, it's still going to be on there for like at least another week, I think, or like half a week. It's or if it gets put on there after it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD and stuff, check it out. Kids will like it. You might enjoy just watching it with your kid. It's just nice to have new movies coming out after a while of like things getting pushed back and all that stuff. If you're just watching this on the merit of it being a good movie, I would definitely not recommend it in that respect. If you do want to look at it just to see a cool, aesthetically pleasing juxtaposition of animated characters on live action backdrops, just maybe rewatch the trailer on YouTube a few times.
You need you need to shut your kids up. This is like the perfect movie, but anything other.
Yeah. Like I would say if you're gonna get HBO Max for any movie that has animated characters interacting with live action elements, just wait until Space Jam, the new one, comes out, because that'll probably be I can just say off the top of my head, like I know that's going to be the more entertaining movie. I don't know by how much, but we will definitely see whenever that comes out, because there's no doubt that we will be covering that here on the Ink and Paint Club podcast.
Yeah.
There's one last thing I forgot to mention. There is a scene in this movie where Tom does the floss dance, and then he does a mic drop, which is I just remembered right now because I have it written down here in my notes, and now that I've reminded myself about that, I can definitely say, do not watch this movie. It's meant for no one. It's you just stay away. It's trash. Yeah. Anyway, that's gonna do it for us here at the Ink and Paint Club podcast for this week. If you enjoyed what you heard as your first time listener, hey, thank you for listening. We have a back catalog of episodes covering a wide variety of subjects. We are on YouTube. We're on all your major streaming places, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that sort of thing. We've got a Twitter and a Facebook, a Discord channel. You can keep on updates there. You can shout us out. You can talk to us about, current discussions or, future episodes, that sort of thing.
And then huge thanks to...
Oh, yeah. Thank you to Scottoon Network for letting us use their very cool cover of the Cartoon Fridays theme for our new intro and outro. Definitely go check them out. They've got some amazing covers and songs on their YouTube, and they're also on like Apple Music, and I'm assuming, the other music streaming services there. But yeah. That's going to do it for us for this week, and we will see you later on to talk about something else cool or bad or whatever else we might have on the schedule.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. You can find all the links to our social media pages in the episode description. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and join our Discord. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. The Ink and Paint Club is happy to be part of the Geekly Grind Podcast Network. We'll see you next time.